Doomsday Survival. My apocalypse begins with Saeko Poshima. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 1. Classmate Fong Nan. Classmate Fong Nan woke up. In his sleep, Fong Nan vaguely heard the voice calling out to himself, and just as he slowly lifted his sleepy eyes, he was greeted by a pair of rather dazzling scenery. I said, classmate Fong Nan, if you are unwell, you can go to the health room to rest. Oh, you are like this. In front of Fong Nan, the mature female teacher wearing an off-white suit was tirelessly preaching, and she was plump and mature in school uniform. But before she could say a few words, several teachers outside the classroom came and called her out. Fong Nan looked at the graceful female teacher leaving, and then looked at the uniformed classmates around him, and he couldn't help but slowly widen his eyes. Am I dreaming? Isn't the college entrance examination over? And it's still a month before the start of college. I distinctly remember that I was playing games at home. What the hell is going on? What's going on? Looking at these unfamiliar faces around, and then looking at those student uniforms, Fong Nan didn't remember which university uniform of the Great Heavenly Dynasty was designed so astringently. Just when Fong Nan was confused, suddenly, a crisp voice suddenly sounded in his head. Ding! The host successfully bound the Super God enhancement system. Start pouring in your memories. Wait. This series of sounds sounded. Before Fong Nan could figure out the situation, the next second, he only felt that his eyes were black, and his head was about to explode. Fortunately, this feeling only lasted for a moment. Shaking his head slightly, after calming down, Fong Nan gradually figured out what the situation was at hand. He didn't dream, he crossed. That's right, it's a crossing, and it's not the traditional soul crossing. Because this body is his, simply put, his whole being has crossed over. And his identity in this world is that he is an exchange student from the East, who has lived here for a year and has met several good friends, such as Poison Island and Takagi. Wait. The name? Sleeper. This world is actually the world of Gakuin Apocalypse. After infusing a lot of memories, Fong Nan suddenly woke up. You know, the world of Academy Apocalypse is not a sweet campus love, but soon after the end of the world, the cruel world of zombies. At the same time, he also remembered the mature female teacher who had just taught him. Wasn't it the female teacher who was bitten by the physical education teacher at the beginning of the apocalypse? In other words, it is really not long before the zombie outbreak is gone. What to do? Fong Nan panicked in his seat. By the way, system, am I not bound to a system? The system you came out. Now how long before the zombie outbreak? There is still a zombie outbreak before 5 minutes. Sleeper. Fong Nan was too shocked to stand up, and the huge movement attracted the attention of everyone and the teacher. No, I can't sit here and wait. It's only 5 minutes. But 5 minutes is enough for me to prepare a lot. With this thought flashing in his mind, Fong Nan immediately had a decision. He did not have time to explain anything to everyone, and directly rushed out of the classroom under the shocked eyes of the whole class. It was class time. The empty corridor was empty at this time, and Fong Nan was running desperately. System, you introduce yourself. I don't know what features you have yet. After Fong Nan rushed out of the classroom, the primary target was the dormitory. Although he has the power of a prophet to this world, he can warn everyone and tell the Poison Island that they will have a great crisis. But who believes this? And in just 5 minutes, there was no time to explain to them, not to mention that he clearly knew that Poison Island and Takashi would never die. But he is different, he is at most a passerby, the protagonist group in the anime, but there is no him. Therefore, he now wants to return to the dormitory in a limited time. Because when the zombies break out, the more dangerous the crowded place, just at this time it is class time, the dormitory has the fewest people, and the dormitory building is the safest. And besides, if he remembered correctly, in his dormitory, there was a samurai sword that had been given to him when Poison Island invited him to join the kendo club, and the kind that had been opened. This system is called the Super God Enhancement System, which, as the name suggests, consumes boost points, and can be enhanced and upgraded for mission items and everything else. Enhancement points can be obtained by hunting zombies, completing achievement missions, finding system chests, system rewards, etc. Enhanced upgrade. This reminds me of a certain game. After a brief explanation of the system, Fong Nan had realized how powerful his system would bring him. The system is first bound. The reward is being issued, whether it is received or not. Receive. The opening reward. This kind of east-west-south is impossible to let go. After all, this is the capital he can survive in this last days. Ding. The reward has been issued and has been deposited in the warehouse. Immediately after, Fong Nan saw that in his character attributes, there were 50 more enhancement points, and there were 2 more items in the warehouse. Hyohi Kendo, Intermediate Skill Book, Bottle of Primary Stamina Potion. These 2 rewards. Fong Nan was a little amazed, so there were 3 rewards for the start. Then the system sounded again. Do you want to use the item? Use. Fong Nan is not a hamster. He does not like to honk things. Besides, this is also to increase his chances of survival. Succeed with Hyohi Kendo, Intermediate Skill Book. Use Primary Stamina Potion. To succeed. Name, Fong Nan. Identity, Fuji Aesthetic Garden Exchange Student. Strength, 12, Normal Person 10. Physical Strength, 29, Normal Person 10. Endurance, 12, Normal Person 10. Neural Response, 11, Normal People 10. Skill, Izumi Kendo, Intermediate. When the sound of the system fell, Fong Nan only felt that his body was warm, and he was still breathing heavily, and his breath actually calmed down, which was very magical, and even almost fell to the ground because he could not control the power. At the same time, he also saw his own personal attributes panel, except for the fact that he increased his stamina by 20 points because of the use of stamina potions. The other attributes did not change, but to be honest, his physique was not bad, and all aspects of his attributes were better than ordinary people. By the way, I have to inform Poison Island's sister. After all, she took such good care of me. On the way to the dormitory, Fong Nan took out his mobile phone and called Poison Island Sunako. Whether he believed it or not, he wanted Poison Island Sunako to be ready. At this moment, Poison Island, who was at the kendo club, looked at the mobile phone that suddenly rang, and without much thought, the phone was connected. As soon as the phone was connected, Fong Nan said quickly, "Poison Island student, you listen to me now. I know this is absurd, but this is the truth. In 5 minutes, the world will erupt into a big crisis, a zombie crisis. Poison Island sister, you must be ready. Now I am going to the dormitory building. When the time comes, I will go to meet you together." After speaking, Fong Nan hung up the phone directly, because he had already returned to the dormitory. Zombie crisis. Alright. Inside the dark kendo club, a delicate shadow stood in it, and as the phone hung up, Poison Island Sunako's slender willow eyebrows bent, and then a surprised smile was revealed. Inside the dormitory, Fong Nan quickly found the samurai sword. Placed under the bed, inside a long wooden box, a samurai sword with a dark red handle and a dark sheath of more than 70 centimeters long lay quietly in it. Fong Nan picked up the katana, holding the handle of the sword, not very heavy, very handy, slowly pulled out the katana. A cold light flashed from the blade. Good knife. After obtaining the intermediate Juha Kendo skill, Fong Nan could see at a glance whether the katana was good or bad, which was definitely a good sword. System, how many boost points do you need to strengthen the katana? Normal katana boost requires 20 boosts. Is it enhanced? 20 o'clock. Fong Nan smirked. Consuming so many enhancement points at the beginning, it was a bit worthless. The early zombie outbreak was not so serious, and it was enough to deal with it without strengthening. Thinking of this, Fong Nan gave up the enhanced samurai sword, or felt that he would fill his stomach first. Looking at the bread and milk on the table, Fong Nan thought for a moment and asked the system, "System, can food be fortified?" Like bread and milk. Yes, the fortification of bread and milk requires 0.5 fortification points. Is it fortified? The system quickly gave an answer. It only takes 0.5, which is a lot less than a samurai sword. Fong Nan thought, and then asked the system, after strengthening the bread, has there been any change in the bread? The fortification aspects of food are heavy, hard, shelf life, long-lasting. The series lists the enhancement effects of a basket, and even some effects will vary depending on the ingredients. And the last one, after Fong Nan saw the effect, he directly chose lasting. The effect of lasting is to extend the feeling of bread from the original 3 hours to 24 hours, which is simply not too good for the environment of the end times. The next step is to wait. Then Fong Nan strengthened a few pieces of bread and milk, and after eating and drinking enough, he quietly waited for the fate to come in the dormitory. Soon, a commotion broke the silence of the campus, and the end officially began. Meanwhile, inside the Kendo Society, in the dark space, accompanied by a faint sound of panic and broadcasting, Poison Island Sunako slowly picked up the wooden knife in front of her, and then walked outside, looking at the hellish scene in front of her. The corner of the girl's mouth outlined a sick smile. Brother Fong Nan, I am really becoming more and more curious about you. Episode 2. Ah. No. Yes, you don't want to come here. No. Yes, it hurts. It hurts. Call the police. These people are crazy. All crazy. In the dormitory, Fong Nandwan sat at the table. In front of him was a backpack that had been packed, and a samurai sword. At this time he quietly listened to the faint screams coming from outside. 5 minutes had passed, the zombie outbreak had already begun, and after the fateful broadcast, screams and horrors shattered the silence of the campus. Not long after, the air gradually filled with a faint smell of blood. At this time, Fong Nan had been waiting in the dormitory for almost 2 hours, and the movement outside was not as restless as at the beginning, and it seemed that everything was slowly calming down. Almost 2 hours have passed, and those who can survive have found a place to hide, and the situation should also begin to spread outwards, and it is time for me to act. Fong Nanjuancho's face was calm, like a deep pool, and the sitting posture gave people a very stable feeling. Fong Nan picked up the packed things, picked up the samurai sword and pinned it around his waist, ready to draw the knife at any time. After all, the zombies in the Academy Apocalypse were not as fragile as in the movie, and once they got close, the terrible wrist strength was not a joke. In addition, according to the zombie characteristics in the Gakuin Apocalypse, only react to sound, so Fong Nan specially wrapped enough cloth strips for his sneakers so that he could avoid making noises during the action. After everything was prepared, Fong Nan carefully came to the door, although he knew that there were not many people in the dormitory building, but after the previous commotion, he did not dare to be careless. After all, he still understood the principle of carefully sailing the ship of 10,000 years. Let's see if there are any zombies in the corridor, Fong Nan thought, closed his breath, and carefully opened a door slit, and then handed out a mirror. Through the light of the mirror, Fong Nan saw that there were no zombies or humans in his floor, which made Fong Nan breathe a sigh of relief. Phew. Fong Nan breathed a sigh of relief and ensured safety before he fully opened the dormitory door and walked out sideways, smoothly came to the staircase, looked down, and then began to walk down. However, in the dormitory building with few people, Fong Nan still encountered several zombies. Is this a zombie? It looks a little scary. It looks like it should have been bitten by someone outside. Seeing the zombie for the first time, Fong Nan was still a little nervous to tell the truth, but feeling the surging power of his body, he relaxed a little. Inside the corridor, 5 zombies are wandering aimlessly. From their clothing, it is not difficult to see that they are students, infected into zombies, one by one. Their faces are vicious, their skin color is gray, their pupils are dark and dull, and they emit a bloody breath. The most important thing is that they seem to be sports students, because their figure is much taller than the average student. Probably noticing Fong Nan's presence, they suddenly let out a low roar like a beast, and then rushed over in unison. Running away is not a matter of fact, and besides, I also want to know how strong my Ikuhi Kendo really is. Fong Nan's deep eyes narrowed, and after adjusting his mentality, he looked at the zombies that rushed over. He took a deep breath, and then slowly moved his right hand to the handle of the sword. 5 sports zombies, with vicious faces, rushed forward, opening their mouths and asking the other party to pounce on them. Fong Nan's whole body tensed, and after he was ready to draw the sword, he suddenly rushed up to the front. His legs were like springs, and in an instant he seemed to be an arrow off the string, only to see Fong Nan's eyes flash a cold light, staring at the head of the zombie. The sharp blade of the blade out of the sheath under the wave of the arm, facing the nearest zombie is to draw the knife up. Skilled movements, without a trace of dragging mud with water. As the blood sprayed, the head of the zombie at the head flew straight out, and then fell to the ground, completely killed. However, there were still 4 zombies that rushed over, and after Fong Nan took a deep breath, a bounce jumped over the heads of the 4 zombies. This knife, let me end you all. Fong Nan came to the back of the 4 zombies, and before they could react, only a cold light slid over their heads. In an instant, the 4 zombies immediately lost their mobility, opened their mouths in shock, and the next second, the 4 zombies spewed blood in unison, and then all fell to the ground. Phew. It seems that it has become a zombie, and the head has not been changed in any way, and fortunately, the physical strength has been enhanced before. Otherwise, it is really difficult to achieve a 4-headed zombie with one knife. Looking at the 5 zombies on the ground, Fong Nan let out a sigh, but there was no feeling of discomfort, but there was a kind of calm, just doing a trivial thing. In this way, in this last day, it is not a good thing to be soft-hearted. Looking down at his clothes and the knife, he didn't know when. There was a lot of blood, but Fong Nan didn't care, and he wiped it at will and continued to move. And just when Fong Nan was about to turn around and leave, the system in his mind suddenly rang out. Ding! Congratulations to the host, kill 5 zombies and gain 5 boost points. Ding! Congratulations to the host, complete the achievement mission. First kill 1 blood, get a bottle of primary strength potion. Is it used? A series of system prompts made Fong Nan stunned for a moment, and then he was happy in his heart. It turns out that hunting zombies can get booster points, and there are even achievement missions. Fong Nanmei looked at the rewards of the system and used them directly without saying a word. The primary strength potion, like the previous stamina potion, is directly increased by 20 points, but one is in terms of strength and the other is in terms of stamina. Now my strength and physical strength have increased by 20 points, which can be said to have more than tripled, and if I encounter a zombie, it is estimated that it will not be as laborious as just now. Feeling the warm current flowing through his body, Fong Nan felt most directly that the samurai sword in his hand was much lighter. Is this the effect of the primary power potion? It's wonderful. Fong Nan rejoiced. In this apocalyptic world, no one will hate to become stronger, and Fong Nan is the same. There are relatively few zombies on this side of the dormitory building. Why not take this opportunity to hunt more zombies to increase the reinforcement point? In this way, it is also easy to deal with the next crisis, and I can also kill them while going to find the Poison Island sisters. Fong Nan groaned slightly. After all, he was not in a hurry to find Poison Island Tsukiko and the proud and delicate Gouching Shay. Just like that, go all the way to the teaching building. Having made up his mind, Fong Nan tightened his grip on his samurai sword and continued downstairs, only to his disappointment that there were few zombies in the dormitory building. Don't come here. However, at this moment, in the teaching building not far away, there was a sudden scream of terror. Huh? Fong Nan's eyes froze. This voice, a little familiar? Without much time to think about it, he ran towards the teaching building, and encountered 1 or 2 slow-moving zombies in the middle, all of which were also cut off by Fong Nan at random. Episode 3. As I entered the teaching building, there was a lot of movement from inside, and occasionally there was a harsh cry for help. Listen to this voice, there are a lot of them. Fong Nan's sideburns dropped a drop of sweat and rushed towards the source of the sound. Going upstairs, Fong Nan saw that the corridor was densely packed with zombies. If it was an ordinary person, they had already been frightened by the scene in front of them. They seemed to be attracted by the sound of the corner not far away, and all of them rushed over. What an idiot, yelling at me because I thought I was dying too slowly. Fong Nan drew his samurai sword, spat a little, and then slashed at the zombie knife in front of him. Fong Nan, who had increased his strength and physical strength, went all the way to the knife in his hand, and wherever Fong Nan passed, the zombies all fell to the ground like they were chopped vegetables, and blood bubbles and blood flew in the air, staging a different waltz. After obtaining the Juha Kendo, Fong Nan was as if he had no teacher to use all kinds of slashing techniques, and after a while, Fong Nan killed the corner and saw the person who made the cry for help. Hi city. And also, that fat house. Fong Nan saw the two people surrounded by zombies, a man and a woman, both of whom he was familiar with, and he couldn't help but be stunned. The woman is the proud and delicate Takashi Saya, Fong Nan's few friends, and as for the fat house, it is Hirano Toda, a family that hides guns deeply. Fong Nan looked at Takagi Saya and Hirano Toda, and found that the two did not have any equipment on them, and he knew in his heart that the two had not yet gone to the equipment room to make air nail guns. Fong Nan, surrounded by zombies, Gao Ching-se no longer had her usual arrogant appearance at this time, and the fright made her beautiful face pale, and her dark pupils contracted tightly, like a frightened little white rabbit shrinking in the corner. Hirano Toda on the other side was even more unbearable. The whole person was paralyzed on the ground, his face was full of sweat, and he did not dare to move. Roar! At this moment, there were more than a dozen zombies surrounded behind him, and Fong Nan turned around and took a few knives with him, killed these zombies, and then swung his sword at several zombies approaching Gao Ching-se. Poof! With the sound of a blade breaking through the air, a tiny white line appeared on the heads of the zombies, and the next second, their heads were half less, and then they fell down in response. Ding! Congratulations to the host, complete the achievement, 10 kills in a row, get a piece of fortified bread, has been stored in the warehouse. Ding! Congratulations to the host, complete the achievement, 20 kill streak, get 3 bottles of enhanced sports drink, which have been deposited in the warehouse. Ding! Congratulations to the host, complete the achievement, 30 kill streak, get a bottle of primary nerve reaction potion, is it used? Accomplished the achievement again, and it's still 3, not bad. Fong Nan was slightly surprised, and then he was in a good mood, and he didn't have to look closely, use it directly. Without looking at the effect prompt, Fong Nan knew that this must be to increase the speed of neural reactions, and it was primary, and the effect should also increase by 20 points. Sure enough, after using the potion, Fong Nan smelled the smell of blood in the air, which was a little stronger, and his thinking consciousness was faster. This time, so many zombies were killed, and the harvest was also very rich. How's it going? Are you alright? Fong Nan seemed to be accustomed to such a scene, calmly put away the knife, and held out his hand to Gao Ching-se, who was paralyzed on the ground. Takagi Saya and Hirano Toda were shocked by the scene in front of them, and they didn't expect that Fong Nan, who looked tall and thin, was so powerful, and those man-eating zombies were in front of him, as if there was no resistance, and for a while both of them were stunned. Fong Nan frowned, thinking, is it frightened? It's scary. Gao Ching-se was really frightened, seeing that the crisis was finally solved, and the first time she saw her good friend, it was so powerful, she came back to God, tears welled up in her eyes, and she pounced into Fong Nan's arms and choked up. Fong Nan did not expect this to be the case. After all, although Gao Ching-se was a little arrogant, his popularity in the school was still quite high, and he was a genius girl. However, the figure of this genius girl is really a bit good. 1 meter and 5'5" height, it does not look high, but it gives people a petite feeling, and the long double ponytail makes people feel like they want to grasp it and then launch a charge. The most important thing is that this high city is only 16 years old, and it actually has the scale of F level, which is really breathtaking. What a delicate and feminine 2-ponytail lorry girl. The beauty fell into his arms, Fong Nan sighed in his heart, and he did not have the good sense to push her away. Just let her hug. Good. It's awesome. The big guy saves me. Hirano Toda on the other side finally came back to his senses at this time, and then looked at Fong Nan. His eyes were full of light, as if some attribute was about to awaken, and he didn't even know shame to come over and hug. When Fong Nan looked at it, his whole body was about to get goosebumps, and he quickly hugged Takagi Saya and turned around and flashed past, while Hirano Toda squatted at home and almost fell into the zombie corpse. Fong Nan was ashamed. You really woke up to something incredible, right? A few minutes later, Gao Ching Saya finally stopped crying and left Fong Nan's arms. After Fong Nan's hunting just now, the zombies on this floor were all cleaned up, and the ground was full of zombie corpses. The three of them temporarily moved to a cleaner classroom to rest. Hello, my name is Hirano Toda, please advise. Hirano Toda, who was squatting at home, bowed deeply to Fong Nan, who was pinning a samurai sword around his waist, and it was not difficult to hear from his expression and tone that this little fat man was excited and afraid at this time. Hello, my name is Fong Nan, exchange student. Fong Nan smiled and patted Hirano Toda's shoulder, Juincho's face, with an approachable glow. Of course, if you wipe the face of those few blood marks is better. Think about the Hirano Toda guy just now to hug, he is a flurry of goosebumps. I have to say that Fong Nan's appearance is quite high, laughing is very affinity, the original nerves are still extremely tense to Takagi Saya. Hirano Toda when he sees Fong Nan's smile, they are very relieved. Fong Nan, you just... How? So powerful in the face of those man-eating zombies? Takagi Saya poured himself a glass of water from the water dispenser, and the pink-hair double ponytail dangled. Hirano Toda, who was observing at the window on the other side, heard the voice of Takagi Saya, and he also pricked up his ears, and he was also curious about how powerful the characters in the school were, and he hadn't noticed it before. When the crisis came, I happened to be in the dormitory, and it just so happened that Sister Poison Island had sent me a samurai sword before, in order to save myself, as long as I got strong. Fong Nan shrugged his shoulders and laughed softly, in a very light tone, as if describing something that everyone can do. Hearing this, the arrogant Takashi Saya and Hirano Toda were a little suspicious of themselves. How do you listen to us and you, not in the same world, are you really human? At this point, Hirano Toda wanted to say this, but he didn't dare. By the way, how did you get out? Fong Nan asked casually, and then took out a bottle of milk and drank it, cutting dozens of zombies. Even if it was a physical improvement, it was a little weak. Speaking of this, Takagi Saya restored the character of the proud and talented girl, and talked about her and Hirano Toda with a heavy face. After hearing the radio, I vaguely felt that something was wrong, and after I left the classroom with this fat house, there was a sudden roar on the radio, and I knew that something big was really happening. Yes, Gao Cheng's classmates are really alert. Fortunately, Gao Cheng's classmates took me. Otherwise I would have been eaten. Hirano Toda answered the call, and when he talked about Takagi Saya, he was still shy, and then he told them how they escaped. Episode 4. If that's the case, then you're really lucky. No, in fact, it is all the credit of Gao Cheng's classmates. Hirano Toda said shyly. Shut up, you dead fat guy. An arrogant pink double ponytail looked at Fong Nan, blushed, and said loudly, to Hirano Toda. Seeing how the two still had spirits, Fong Nan shook his head. Well, let's replenish some physical strength first, we are not really safe yet. As he spoke, he took out from his backpack a few bottles of milk and bread, which, of course, were ordinary bread and milk, which he had found when he came out of the dormitory. After all, the milk and bread in his dormitory were so much that they were not given to the two of them. Takagi Saya may have been the reason for not eating lunch. Hungry, as soon as he saw the bread, he ate it in spite of the image, but Hirano Toda, who seemed to have developed horizontally, had no appetite and just drank a bottle of milk. According to him, before the zombie crisis broke out, he had eaten a lot of food, and now he was not thirsty or hungry. In this regard, Fong Nan was not reluctant, and after Gao Cheng-se had eaten and drunk enough, Fong Nan opened his mouth. Disaster has broken out, and there are man-eating zombies outside, like the movie comic plot. Of course, this is reality, so in order to survive, we can't sit here and wait, we must have the means to protect ourselves. When Fong Nan spoke, he had a rare seriousness in his eyes. When Takagi Saya and Hirano Toda heard this, they couldn't help but sit up. Classmate Fong Nan is so powerful, I will mix with you in the future. Hirano Toda was the first to say, somehow with excitement in his tone. Me too. Takagi Saya had a shy, writhing face. I'm not asking you to show loyalty, I mean, sitting here and waiting to die is not the way to go, we have to rush out. Fong Nan was speechless. Huh? Those zombies are very powerful, how do we fight those monsters? Hirano Toda asked. Yes, according to my observation, the wrist strength of those zombies is extremely terrifying, and once they are surrounded by close quarters, there is almost no possibility of escape. Takagi Saya nodded calmly. Of course I know that, so we're going to be armed. Fong Nan revealed a smile and said, the school's equipment room is a good place for arming. Hearing this, Takagi Saya and Hirano Toda instantly thought of something, and his eyes lit up. In this way, with Fong Nan's joining, the three of them began to move towards the equipment room, and the zombies encountered on the road all became reinforcement points under Fong Nan's Juha Kendo. Gao Cheng-se looked at Gu Bo and did not surprise Fong Nan, who killed the zombie, and was a little stunned for a while. What do you see? Hurry up, wait for a group of zombies to come again. Fong Nan patted Gao Cheng-se's head, and immediately made Gao Cheng-se return to God. Sure enough, Takagi-se listened carefully and immediately sped up his pace. Soon, the three finally arrived at the equipment room. I remember the last time I was at the school games, I saw that the senior of the first grade had used that thing. As soon as Hirano Toda entered the equipment room, he purposefully searched for it. Fong Nan had a katana, he couldn't use anything else at all. Besides, these things were not as lethal as his own katana. Naturally there was no need to be armed, but Takagi Saya, without a little will to fight. The two of them walked to the window and looked at the zombies on the playground outside, all silent, only to hear Hirano Toda behind them tinkering with something. Fong Nan, what do you say is wrong with this world? Can you still restore its original appearance? Takagi Saya finally broke this rare silence. Fong Nan heard her words, did not know what to say. According to the timeline development, this may not happen at all. Wouldn't it be a virus, you say? Just happening in our country? Takagi Sayashe looked into the distance and continued, who knows, the world. It has collapsed, Fong Nan said softly, telling a cruel truth. I don't know what happened to my mother and father. Takagi-se sighed deeply, although she usually showed that she did not like her parents, but in the face of life and death, her true feelings were still exposed. Fong Nan looked down at her, and had to say that as a highly popular genius girl in the academy, Gao Cheng-she's beauty was not low, coupled with the figure of the fowl, the average boy could not resist it. Hirano Toda behind him was still tinkering. The two of them said just like this, one person listened. Unconsciously, Fong Nan felt a weight on his shoulder, and a girl's body fragrance drifted over the tip of his nose. After all, it's a girl. Fong Nan sighed secretly, gently leaning on Fong Nan's shoulder. Gao Qingse felt the peace of mind after the disaster, and for the first time he smelled the light fragrance on Fong Nan's body, without the sweat smell of the stinky boys in the class, which was very comfortable. I'm done. Not long after, Hirano Toda's excited voice sounded behind him. Takagi Saya instantly straightened his body like a cat whose tail had been trampled, not daring to look at Fong Nan, and stomping on Hirano Toda, a dead fat house that did not understand the atmosphere, with a shy face, and the little tiger's teeth flashed cold. Air nail gun. Fong Nan pretended to have a surprised expression. Yes, this is an air nail gun that I have carefully modified, and with this, I am not afraid of the zombies that eat people. Hirano Toda wiped the tip of his nose, full of pride, touching the air nail gun's expression, as if he was stroking his wife. I tell you, this air nail gun is. Just as Hirano Toda was about to talk about his air nail gun, Takagi Saya was upset. Okay, I know you're awesome. Takagi Saya looked at Hirano Toda unhappily, and then the other Nan with a somewhat unnatural expression said, Fong Nan, what should we do next? If I'm guessing correctly, there must be a lot of zombies at this time at the school gate. I've thought about this for a long time. Fong Nan squinted. According to the timeline, the protagonist group's Poison Island Tsunako should have arrived at the office of the school doctor, Shizuka Jugawa, and Takashi Komuro and Rei Miyamoto are probably already coming down from the roof, and they just need to go to the school doctor's office. To go out, it is certainly not enough to rely on the three of us. It is best to find some reliable partners, and there are many vehicles under the teaching building. We go to the teacher's office to find it. No problem, classmate Fong Nan. Hirano Toda held an air nail gun and became inexplicably excited. It's disgusting, dead fat house. In this way, the three of them stepped out of the equipment room and began to move towards the school doctor's office under the guidance of Fong Nan. Episode 5. Fong Nan opened the way in front, Takagi Saya and Hirano Toda followed closely behind, and after the three of them came out of the equipment room, they quickly headed for the school doctor's office. And soon, Takagi Saya discovered the characteristics of zombies. The actions of these zombies seem to react only to sounds, and to heat. Biological movements do not respond at all. Takagi Saya said calmly. The only girl among the three, she was arranged by Fong Nan in the middle. Fong Nan took the lead. Hirano Toda paid attention to the rear, so that at least it was safer, and Hirano Toda did not have the previous cowardice after getting the modified air nail gun, at least as a reliable combat force. Huh? Gouching classmates, how did you find out? Hirano Toda held an air nail gun and pointed at a nearby zombie, which was a shot, and the nail that spewed out at high speed instantly pierced the zombie's head. At this close range, the lethality of the air nail gun is still enormous. Of course, can't you just observe carefully? And Fong Nan's shoes are obviously treated. Fong Nan, you should have found out a long time ago, right? Takagi Saya said unhappily to Hirano Toda, then looked at Fong Nan's shoes. Yes, these zombies only react to sounds, that's certain. Fong Nan nodded, but he had forgotten to tell Takagi Saya and Hirano Toda about this. As it turns out, classmate Fong Nan, you are indeed a big guy who hides deeply. Hirano Toda said excitedly. All in all, don't delay here, our movement is too big, and we will attract more zombies later. Fong Nan looked around. The zombies in this corridor had been killed by them almost everywhere, 90% of them, all of which were the credit of Fong Nan. Takagi Saya and Hirano Toda nodded. Finally, they came to the school doctor's office, but the sight in front of them was that made both Takagi Saya and Hirano Toda turn pale. Fong Nan, there are too many zombies here, right? Takagi Saya's face turned pale, and looking at the 30 or 40 zombie swarms in front of her, almost half of the corridor, were completely blocked, and she couldn't help but think of the way she was surrounded before. It was horrible, and she didn't want to think about it. Subconsciously, Gao Qingxie approached Fong Nan and reached out to pull Fong Nan's clothes, and her delicate body couldn't help but tremble. Hirano Toda was quite calm, but judging by the cold sweat that kept pouring out of his forehead, he was also frightened. Don't be afraid. For the change in the looks of the two, Fong Nan naturally looked in his eyes, shaking his head. In the anime, the courage of the two is very small, especially Takagi Saya, this petite figure, but with an F-level double ponytail, in the anime belongs to the type of think tank, timid, not good at force. And now that the end has just broken out, it is suddenly unacceptable, and it is normal. His left hand held her little hand, thin and soft, and sure enough, it was still a girl. Feeling Fong Nan's temperature coming from the palm of her hand, Gao Qingxie was slightly stunned, and then returned to her senses. Somehow, the fear in her heart had disappeared a lot at this moment, and a full sense of security filled her heart socket. Whoops! At this moment, in the front of the school doctor's office, there was a sudden sound of glass being broken, accompanied by a large number of chaotic footsteps. No, it should be Poison Island sisters. Fong Nan immediately thought of something, and said quickly to Gao Qingxia behind him, hold my hand, don't leave me, huh? Well. Takagi Saya's face was hot, and he said softly, big guy, what do we do now? More and more zombies are coming. Hirano Toda took a step back. Just when they came over, the zombies behind them were not completely cleaned up. At this time they stayed here, and the zombies behind them all followed, and immediately he fired the air nail gun, firing several zombies in a row. However, there are too many zombies. As they continue to make movements, more and more zombies converge on this side. If they delay any longer, I am afraid that the zombies in front of the school doctor's office will also hear the movement and rush to them. It's all come to this point, and I can only rush hard. In Fong Nan's dark eyes, a touch of sword light appeared, and the samurai sword stood in front of him in a cold light, and with Fong Nan's sound, he pulled Takagi Saya, who had no combat effectiveness, and Hirano Toda followed close behind, and began to rush towards the school doctor's office. Whoops. Woohoo. The zombie tide gathered outside the school doctor's office heard the movements of Fong Nan's 3 people, and immediately changed his goal and began to act. Come on. Fong Nan constantly swung his katana with one hand, and under the enhanced physical strength, as well as the intermediate Ikuhi Kendo, even if he held the sword in one hand, his combat power was not reduced. The sharp blade, with great power, all the zombies who approached were instantly decapitated by Fong Nan's knife. The corpses were stacked on the ground, the pungent smell of blood instantly filled the entire corridor, and the original blood-stained gray walls were stained with countless splashes of blood. Behind him, Gao Qingse looked a little stunned, staring at the eyes of the water spirit, looking at Fong Nan in front of him, somehow, obviously surrounded by zombies, but there was no fear at all. Be careful. Suddenly, Fong Nan's voice came from Gao Qingse's ear, and before she could turn around, a zombie squeezed from the side was kicked out by Fong Nan, and then a knife repaired the human head. Don't be in a daze. Takagi, you and Hirano, go first. Fong Nan said with a cold face. The ground was full of zombie corpses, and there were more around. At this time, they had already come to the door of the school doctor's office, and Fong Nan immediately opened the door and let Takagi Saya and Hirano Toda go first. What about you? Gao Qingshe's eyes were tightly fixed on Fong Nan, and his heart was suddenly very panicked, afraid that something would happen to Fong Nan. Fong Nan was stunned. He had known this guy from Gaoqing for more than a year. The first time he saw this arrogant guy, he showed such an expression, not to mention weird and cute. Rest assured, with my current skills, these zombies can't hurt me. I'll come back after cleaning up. Fong Nan smiled lightly, reached out and touched the small head of the girl in front of him, then pushed her and immediately closed the door. After entering the school doctor's office, Takagi Saya and Hirano Toda saw the 2 people in front of him. Sensei Jugawa. Takagi Saya was stunned for a moment, and she couldn't help but be stunned when she looked at the 2 people in front of her. Shizuka Jugawa, who was naturally stupid, looked at Takagi Saya and Hirano Toda, whose body was covered with zombie blood, her small head was slightly crooked, and her mature face made a big question mark, an expression of what was the situation. Just like that, the 4 of you looked at me and I looked at you, and didn't speak for half a day, until the door was opened again and Fong Nan walked in. The zombies outside the school doctor's office were almost cleaned up by Fong Nan, and it was not that he was strong, at least this was not very risky for him, and it also gained a lot of reinforcement points. Fong Nan Shuedi. Fong Nan walked into the school doctor's office, and a curious girl's voice rang out. Fong Nan in front of him looked calm, and the samurai sword glowing with cold light was stained with blood, and even drops fell down with the tip of the sword. His original white clothes had long been stained with blood, and his handsome white face had been stained with a lot of blood in the battle just now, and with his calm expression at this time, he instantly gave a cold and powerful sense of vision. Episode 6. The girl in front of her, who is purple and straight, and whose face is slightly cold, is Poison Island Tsubasa. Exquisite facial features, after seeing Fong Nan, rarely showed a surprised smile. Tall figure, even if wearing an ordinary student uniform, cannot hide the excellent figure inside. Every move seems to carry the elegance and calmness of everyone's boudoir, and the uniform on the body is also stained with a little blood, but it just does not violate the harmony at all, but adds a different kind of charm to its yao. The wooden knife in his hand was bloody, and it was not difficult to see that this beautiful girl had also been killed all the way. This is Poison Island. It has a very high popularity in the anime. Even the arrogant genius girl Takagi Sei is not enough, is Fong Nan's life as an exchange student, in addition to Takagi Sei, one of the few friends, and the other, Shizuka Jugawa, is the school doctor of this Fuji aesthetic garden. Not only that, but also a big beautiful woman with blonde hair and waist, especially the mature charm, I don't know how many young boys' hot hearts have been stirred, is the ideal lover of all male creatures in the school, and is the object of countless boys' night relief. A typical workplace black hip skirt and white shirt, and set off her hot to foul figure, but also showed her mature charm, outside a white coat, a proper uniform that is. The point is that such a big beauty is still single, and it is a natural property. It's really the most ideal type of dream lover. This classmate, you have a lot of blood on your body, and your knife. Juchuan Shizuka looked back at Fong Nan in front of him, and somehow, Fong Nan's mature face was covered with a layer of redness, and it was not good to point at Fong Nan. It's alright, it's all zombies outside, and I have spare clothes on my back. Fong Nan smiled at Shizuka Jugawa, and then changed his clothes in full view of everyone. Among the people present, Poison Island Tsunako, Kagawa Shizuka, and Takagi Saya were all women, watching Fong Nan take off his shirt, revealing his strong upper body, obviously looking very thin, but he did not expect to be so good after taking off his clothes. The tall and thin Fong Nan took off his clothes, not realizing anything. The lean muscles, there was no explosion-like bulge, the muscle lines were not obvious, but it was strong and terrible. The fair complexion added a sense of déjà vu to the creamy child, and the 8 obvious abs were gushing and powerful, such a strong and powerful figure, and the 3 women present looked at it with a strange face. Even the most cold poisonous island squirrel couldn't help but cover her face with a layer of pink, skimming her face. Still, clean clothes are comfortable to wear. After Fong Nan changed his clothes, he found that everyone present was looking at him. What's wrong? He just changed his upper body, and his lower body didn't change. Don't you want this expression? Fong Nan, you are playing a rogue, you know? And, in terms of your figure, there is something good to look at. Takagi Saya coughed a few times, and the proud little face had already turned red, and he said duplicitously. Fong Nan rolled his eyes, ignoring this arrogant girl, and then looked at the inside of the school doctor's room a few times, saw the corpse lying in the corner, and understood the current situation in an instant. Brother Fong Nan, do you have any plans now? Poison Island looked at the student in front of him, who seemed to be different from usual, and the smile on the corner of his mouth had an inexplicable deep meaning. Hearing Poison Island Tsukiko's words, everyone present looked at Fong Nan. Fong Nan touched his chin. According to the timeline, next, it should be a rendezvous with Komuro Takashi and Miyamoto Rei. Of course, these things, Poison Island Tsunako, they don't know. Our first goal is to find a way to get out of this school. There are too many zombies in the school, and there is not enough food for us to survive. Transfer? So do we need vehicles? There are several cars downstairs, and my car is there. Shizuka Jugawa raised her hand and said, nice assists. Fong Nan silently gave this natural stay a thumbs up in his heart, and nodded, that's right. But the cars below are all cars, can they carry so many people? Don't think about Mr. Jugawa's car. Takagi Saya directly and mercilessly struck the enthusiastic and positive Shizuka Jugawa. How come? Shizuka Jugawa shrugged her small head and froze. For a moment, several people were silent again, and the quiet could only hear the footsteps of the zombies outside. Just when everyone was at a loss, the most calm Poison Island Z suddenly looked at Fong Nan. Brother Fong Nan, do you have any good suggestions? In short, we have to escape from here. The vehicle is essential. Sensei Jugawa, is the car key here? For some reason, Fong Nan met the eyes of Poison Island Squirrel, and he always felt that his body was about to be lost. She's starving me. Speaking, as soon as Shizuka Jugawa heard the car keys, she immediately flipped over her bag, but disappointingly, there were no car keys in the bag. All the car keys are in the vocational park office. Shizuka Jugawa helplessly told a cruel truth. What? Are we going to go to the vocational college office again? Takagi Saya's reaction was the biggest. After all, she was really scared. There is no way to rush out. The vehicle is an indispensable tool. Hirano Toda muttered quietly. If that's the case, let's hurry up. It's all here, and we have no reason to give up. Fong Nan took a deep breath and tightened his clothes. Perhaps infected by Fong Nan, Poison Island walked over to Fong Nan, followed by Shizuka Jugawa. Let's go together. Poison Island stood on Fong Nan's right, the wooden knife on his waist covered with blood stains, and his cold and delicate face could not be seen whether it was fear or worry, like an emotionless robot. Seeing this situation, no matter how scared Gao Qingxie was, he couldn't do it, took a deep breath, and also came to Fong Nan's side. On the contrary, the most natural staying Shizuka Jugawa came to Fong Nan's back, clinging to it, seemingly noticing it all. He was taken advantage of, and he also blinked his big eyes, staring at the big boy in front of him with curiosity. After Fong Nan took a deep breath, he condensed, Target Faculty Office, are you ready? No problem. The crowd replied that this time the formation had changed, or Fong Nan took the lead, the defender, still handed over to the long-range shooter Hirano Toda. As for the left and right, the Poisonous Island Tsukiko protection, without the slightest combat effectiveness of Takagi Saya and Jugawa Shizuka in the middle. Originally, Poison Island Tsunako still had some objections to such a formation arrangement, but she quickly dispelled her dissent, because they saw an incredible scene. Episode 7. It's so powerful. Were these all brought down by Fong Nan alone? Naturally dumb Jugawa Shizuka immediately jumped out, because the movement was too big. Her foul figure also shook a few times, looking at the zombie corpses on the ground outside the school doctor's room. Only in the distance, there were a few zombies that fell to the ground, not yet dead. When Poison Island saw this shocking scene, she couldn't help but take a breath of cold air, and her expression when she looked at Fong Nan had changed slightly. Even Takagi Saya, who already knew that Fong Nan was strong in combat and agile in his hands, and Hirano Toda was stunned for a moment, and looked at Fong Nan with a ghostly expression. Don't look at me like this. Well, when there are fewer zombies, let's hurry up. Fong Nan pulled out his samurai sword, and at that moment, several people behind him looked at Fong Nan, who seemed to have turned into a cold killer, and couldn't help but be shocked. Come on. Fong Nan took the lead, leaving several people with a thin, but magnificent back. Poison Island was stunned for a second, and then they turned back and immediately followed Fong Nan's pace. They passed through the zombie corpses on the ground, and when they turned the corner, they encountered 3 zombies dangling on the stairs. The 3 zombies were wearing faculty uniforms, 2 men and a woman, and a male zombie had a stomach, all of which had a big hole, and their intestines and lungs were scattered on the ground, which was very disgusting. As for the female zombie, Fong Nan recognized her. It was the female teacher who had woken him up in the classroom before, to preach. At this time, where she still had the same beautiful vitality as before she was born, one arm was scratched off, the blood was very terrible, the clothes were torn, and the very good figure was also exposed, but Fong Nan did not have the heart to appreciate it. Obviously so mature and beautiful, but unfortunately suffered such a disaster, Fong Nan couldn't help but sigh. The zombies heard the sound and immediately gathered around. Fong Nan didn't think much about it, raised a samurai sword, and slashed at the first zombie. First, the first zombie immediately separated. Then Fong Nan's wrist turned, and the katana cut an arc in the air, from bottom to top, slashing horizontally, directly ending the female teacher zombie, and the last zombie, by the poisonous island on the right-hand side, struck a wooden knife directly through the skull. I knew that Fong Nan's apprentice kendo was good, but I didn't expect that being so proficient in Juha kendo, Fong Nan's apprentice was really deeply hidden. Poison Island Tsunako looked at Fong Nan and said, it seemed to mean something. Her eyes were full of color. She knew that Fong Nan knew some martial arts, but in this regard of kendo, she was the first time to see it. As a Poison Island Tsukiko who had been immersed in kendo for many years, he could see the provenance of Fong Nan's kendo at the first glance, and that kind of skilled swordplay, without a foundation of 7 or 8 years, was impossible to achieve. The first time he saw such a scented poisonous island, Fong Nan was also bright-eyed. Watching the two tout each other, the arrogant gouching Shay behind them could not look at it anymore. Please, can you see the atmosphere around you? There is no time to flirt with you. Takagi Saya blushed and stood between the two. After cleaning up a few zombies, several people continued to set off. The faculty office was on the first floor, and they were in the third floor of the school doctor's office, and they had to go down. Just when Fong Nan was thinking about when he met Xiaomuro and Miyamoto Lee, the next second, thinking about Cao Cao arrived. Fong Nan and the others came to the corner of the stairs on the first floor, and in the blink of an eye, they saw two flexible figures at the top of the stairs, knocking down all the zombies in front of them. It's Takashi Komuro and Rei Miyamoto, and everyone has arrived. Those two were the remaining two. Fong Nan's eyes flashed, and the people gathered. Brother Fong Nan, are we going to help them? Poison Island Tsunako beside him said that at some point, it seemed that Fong Nan had become the main backbone of this small group. It's the only route to the faculty office, and it's going to be passed either way. Fong Nan said lightly, looking at the two moving figures below. His meaning was obviously very clear. Come on. Fong Nan bore the brunt of it. One turned over and jumped directly down, towards one of the zombies. Raising his hand was a knife. This knife was very powerful, directly splitting the entire zombie from head to toe in half, and a large amount of blood was spilled on the ground with internal organs. Both Komuro and Rei Miyamoto were startled by Fong Nan, who suddenly jumped out. Followed by Poison Island, she held a wooden knife and moved between the zombies in a flexible posture. Although the wooden knife was not enough to kill, but it was more than enough to deal with the zombies in front of her. What a powerful force. Komuro was shocked, but he didn't forget to wave the baseball bat in his hand. He knew clearly how difficult it was to split a zombie with one knife, although Fong Nan borrowed gravity, but this was still not the extent he could do it. Kappa. Aha! The four remaining zombies turned around and began to walk towards Poison Island and Fong Nan beside them. However, these four zombies could not threaten them anymore. Both of them were kendo masters. Fong Nan's simple knife cut the heads of two zombies. Poison Island Tsukiko directly smashed one, and the last one was smashed to death by Komuro, Takashi and Miyamoto. To solve the crisis, Fong Nan took a deep breath, and the next second, the system sound came as promised. Ding! Congratulations to the host, kill 120 zombies and gain 120 boost points. Ding! Congratulations to the host, complete the achievement mission, 50 kill streak, and get a box of fortified bread. Ding! Congratulations to the host, complete the achievement mission, 80 kill streak, and get a box of enhanced mineral water. Ding! Congratulations to the host, complete the achievement mission, 100 kill streak, and get the military binoculars. You guys, both Komuro and Rei Miyamoto were exhausted and were about to inquire about the situation, but before they could finish speaking, they were interrupted by Fong Nan. This is not a place to stay for a long time. What is the word to leave here first? It is estimated that the movement here has attracted a lot of zombies. Fong Nan finished speaking, and then took the lead and walked towards the faculty office, not far away. Poison Island Tsunako followed them closely, and Takashi Komuro and Rei Miyamoto looked at each other and silently followed Fong Nan. Fortunately, outside the faculty office, there were few zombies, and after Fong Nan had solved it, several people could finally arrive here and relax and rest. Along the way, everyone was tired enough, only Fong Nan was still like a person who had nothing to do. In this vocational instructor's office, the crowd got a brief respite, and Fong Nan looked at the state of the crowd and seemed to be very bad, because even Poison Island was short of breath. Only Fong Nan, this monster. The crowd looked at Fong Nan, who was not breathless, his face was not red, and he felt a word in his heart. The next few people introduced themselves to each other, which was also a preliminary acquaintance. Subsequently, Poison Island Tsunako took out some food from the storage room and distributed it to everyone. Everyone hurry up and rest, otherwise you will have no physical strength later. In the faculty and staff offices, there is a lot of drinking water and emergency food, and everyone seizes the time to rest and replenish energy. Episode 8. Faculty Office. Fong Nan and his group of 7 people were quietly eating the emergency food in the storage room to replenish their physical strength. As if they knew that the time was urgent, they were all eating silently, and no one spoke. After everyone introduced themselves to each other, they also had a relative understanding of each other. While the others were replenishing their strength, Fong Nan came to the window, looked at the yellow minibus not far away, and wondered how to transfer it safely. Because of the increase in the number of people, the risk is also relatively increased to pass through such a large zombie horde. No doubt this is a very risky act, but taking a small bus is the only way for them to transfer. Brother Fong Nan, replenish your physical strength. In the quiet office, Poison Island Renko walked to Fong Nan's side with a few packets of compressed biscuits and bread, as well as mineral water, and signaled Fong Nan to eat something. Fong Nan looked at the food, shook his head, and said, "No need for Poison Island, sister. I'm not very hungry now." Island nations have always been earthquake-prone countries, and some people prepare some emergency food in case they need it, and this is the case with these compressed biscuits. However, before Fong Nan had eaten the fortified version of bread, the anti-hunger effect was 24 hours long. Even if he had just exercised fiercely, he did not have the slightest sense of hunger. Poison Island Tsunako did not say much, but packed up these foods. She has never been a person who talks much. She will only observe quietly, and Fong Nan is not the kind of boy who loves to be strong. After a simple conversation, Fong Nan looked out the window again, seemingly observing the zombies and terrain, but in fact, his mind was quietly checking the harvest of this time. Seeing that Fong Nan did not speak, Poison Island Schwanzi also stood quietly next to him, without saying a word. Fong Nan opened the system, looked at it, and a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. His current enhancement point was actually as high as 223 points. If you subtract the 50 points of the package reward, he has already killed more than 100 zombies. With these reinforcement points, even in the face of the worst situation, I believe it can survive. In this regard, Fong Nan is still quite confident. At this moment, not far away, Gao Qingse, an arrogant and delicate girl, looked at Fong Nan and Poison Island squirrels chatting so intimately, her eyes were about to stare out, and a flame burned in it. Ahem. Fong Nan, this big idiot. Takagi Saya bit down on the bread as if she were her enemy. Sister Poison Island, do you have any plans for the next step? Just as everyone was silently replenishing their strength, Konro first broke the calm and walked over to Poison Island Tsunako and asked softly. The crowd was also attracted by Konro's voice and looked at it. Poison Island looked at Takashi Konro in front of her, and then looked at Miyamoto Rei not far away. Konro Takashi looks tall and thin, with a slightly longer hairstyle, and the arms of the baseball bat he grabs, looking very strong. As for Miyamoto, her appearance is not bad, her figure is also very good, a long brown hair is very flowing, although she is holding a long stick, the stick is sharp, but if the expression is more calm, it is also a very good combat strength. Brother Fong Nan, I came to the faculty office, what are you going to do next? Instead of responding positively to Konro Takashi, Poison Island turned her head and looked at Fong Nan by the window. Konro Takashi saw this, and his eyebrows frowned slightly, but he still looked at Fong Nan. Sensei Kurikawa, do you have the keys to that little bus? Fong Nan thought about it. Fong Nan's words instantly woke up everyone. Yes. The school has a small bus car that goes to the race, and if it is that car, it is enough to carry all of us. Takagi Saya said excitedly. Indeed, the minibus is indeed a good fit for the current situation. Poison Island nodded. So what are you waiting for? Get the key and leave quickly. Hirano Toda was inexplicably excited, full of energy. Bus car. Bus car, oops, found. Jugawa Shizuka heard Fong Nan's words, the first time she went to find the key to the bus car, and after a while, she came to Fong Nan with a car key, said as if asking for merit, and also raised the key in front of Fong Nan and shook it a few times. Once the transfer plan was decided, everyone couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, at least, so that they could feel that there was still hope of survival. Although Poison Island didn't take care of herself much, the problem finally had a solution, and Konro Takashi also felt relieved, but then, he thought of something. He turned around and walked over to the TV, turned it on, and said, before we can determine the transfer, we still need to know something about the outside world, and now that the zombie crisis is so big, there should be news reports outside. Hearing Konro Takashi's words, several other people also reacted and turned their heads to look at the TV. Even Fong Nan is the same. Russell. Perhaps because the signal is not very good, the TV screen takes several seconds to connect to the signal, and the sound content of the TV set also makes everyone look at it. At this time, the scene in the TV set seems to be in a park. A good-looking female reporter is urgently reporting what is being said, and behind her, a department personnel is transporting the corpse away. The scene is very terrifying. The Ministry of State Affairs of the island is urgently discussing the countermeasures for this crisis, but it seems that the question of whether the self-defense forces will intervene has not been agreed upon. According to statistics, the number of victims in Saitama Prefecture has reached more than 10,000. Poison Island and others looked at the reports of the increasingly serious situation, and one by one, their hearts seemed to be covered with a dark cloud. Just then, gunshots suddenly rang out from the television, and Miyamoto was even frightened. In the picture of the TV, the people who had just died stood up and were alive, but fortunately, several gunmen at the scene immediately killed them. Then, the broadcast screen was interrupted, the TV set spent the screen again, and it didn't take long to search for the signal. This time it was also a live broadcast screen, another region. However, this place is worse than Saitama Prefecture, and it is not difficult to see from the picture that this is the closest county to Tingmei Garden. But at this time it has also fallen, a large number of zombies flock to the crowd, the sound of panic continues to rise and fall, and soon, the blood splashed in the camera will stain the entire shot red. Rustle. The TV was spent again, but it was getting better soon. Here's the big board. Over here. Fall. Rustle. This time, the TV set was screened, but there was no signal coming again, and everyone watched this scene, and suddenly, an atmosphere called despair spread in this office. How could this be? Miyamoto was paralyzed uncontrollably, tears streaming down her cheeks. Takagi Saya was also shocked by the scene, and his mouth kept muttering words like mom and dad, and his pupils were wide open, as if he couldn't believe everything in front of him. The country is. It's not true. It's not true. Takagi Saya wept bitterly. Seeing the situation, Poison Island Tsubasa silently walked over, gently hugging the trembling girl in her arms, and her face was more or less gloomy. In the whole field, only Fong Nan had long expected this situation, and there was still no change in his face. Episode 9. Fong Nan came over and picked up the remote control. The school's television set is connected to the satellite, can watch foreign TV. For him, a clear understanding of the international situation is more important. Everyone watched Fong Nan's movements, wondering what he wanted to do. Soon, Fong Nan debugged the signal. Fortunately, it is only the early stage of the zombie crisis, such as satellites, such as large equipment, is unmanned mode. Satellite equipment can still be used. After the TV rustles a few times, the next second there is a new picture. In response to the current crisis, the authorities of Mordor have launched an emergency preparatory plan. Please the surviving citizens. Fong Nan was the first to look at the satellite pictures in the east. Perhaps he had underestimated the seriousness of the zombie crisis, and the degree of the magic capital at this time was not better than that of the island country. Because they couldn't understand it, several people were confused. That's Fong Nan's country. Poison Island said lightly. What, even the country of Fong Nan? Takagi Saya covered his mouth, trying to stop crying. When everyone thought that Fong Nan would show some sad emotions, he saw that Fong Nan was expressionless and continued to transfer satellite signals, followed by news from neighboring countries such as M country and Stick country. The countries of these places, without exception, have almost fallen. Really, it's the end of the world. Hirano Toda looked dejected and lowered his head and whispered. It can't be said that the situation in at least a few countries is much better than ours here, such as the country in Fong Nan is more optimistic and well controlled. Poison Island whispered, recounting this insignificant matter. However, no one present was happy, because they knew that at the current rate, the demise of mankind was only a matter of time, and this time was not long. It's 2:50 p.m., and it's going to be dark soon, and we don't know if these zombies will change because of the night, but the night is an absolute disadvantage for us. Just when everyone fell into wordless silence again, Fong Nan's faint voice sounded. We can't sit here and wait, we must leave as soon as possible. Where are we going to go when we get out? Komuro stood up at this time and looked at Fong Nan. First of all, from near to far, confirm the situation in your home, and then make plans. You are okay, right? Fong Nan glanced at the other party, then looked at the crowd. Somehow, Fong Nan suddenly felt Komuro's hostility towards him, and this hostility seemed to have begun when Poison Island Tsunako gave him food. Thinking of this, Fong Nan smiled imperceptibly. He had forgotten that in the original world line, Komuro Takashi could be described as a rotten good person, and when he met the existence of anyone who wanted to lend a helping hand, if he had to find an adjective to describe him, it would be a virgin. This kind of rotten good guy, if it weren't for the protagonist group, would have been doomed to live for a long time in this apocalyptic world. Everyone nodded. How is the situation at home? Whether the parents are safe? This is indeed what they need to know at the moment. Seeing that everyone had no opinion, Fong Nan nodded, and just when he was ready to continue speaking, the cold, system prompt tone suddenly sounded, and the content directly made Fong Nan's eyes widen involuntarily. Ding! After an hour, the first silver chest will be refreshed. Refresh point, the roof of teaching building number 1. Countdown begins, 59 hours, 59 minutes, and 58 seconds. The first silver chest. For this fresh reward, Fong Nan was very curious, so he hurried to ask the system. System, will there be anything in this silver chest? Wouldn't it be the kind that randomly looks at faces? Fong Nan thought that his luck was not bad, but think about it. Before crossing, his face was black but not ordinary black. If he went to Feijo, he could become a non-chieftain. Ding! Silver chest reward preview. 2 bottles of primary strength potion, 2 bottles of primary stamina potion, boost point 500, 1 military grade collision avoidance SUV, sleeper. Scent. This is a complete haircut. Seeing these rewards, Fong Nan couldn't help but say them directly, so that the most calm Poison Island sycophants were surprised and confused. This student is really strange. Fong Nan was shocked in his heart. Don't say the medicine in front of him, don't look at the SUV, just say that the reinforcement point, it's 500, it's like a penniless beggar, suddenly informed, inherited 500,000 property. It was so yummy. Looking at the potion reward again, Fong Nan couldn't help but grin at the corners of his mouth. If there was no one at the scene, he estimated that he would have to laugh wildly for 5 minutes. Hey, Fong Nan, are you alright? Takagi Saya came over and poked Fong Nan's chest, then realized that something was wrong and immediately shrank back, blushing, a little cute. It's alright. Suppressing the excitement in his heart, Fong Nan looked at everyone, and his brow quickly wrinkled. The silver chest takes an hour to refresh, and if he leaves the campus now, it will undoubtedly be a silver chest that has simply abandoned this generous reward. That's a big loss. Moreover, Fong Nan's contact time with the system was too short. He didn't know if this kind of treasure chest with a refresh point could be obtained by others. You know, there are still many survivors in this academy. If they are taken away by others, it is not a matter of damage or loss. Thinking about it again and again, Fong Nan was reluctant to give up the reward of the silver treasure chest. This temptation was too great. He absolutely wanted to get his hands on it. Everyone pay attention. After everyone finds the bus, immediately drive away from the school. I have some things. I have to wait in the school. Fong Nan said directly to the crowd. An hour. At this time, if he is alone, he can completely afford to wait, but there are too many people, and there are too many variables. Just hearing Fong Nan's words, everyone couldn't react to it, and they were all a little stunned, and the biggest reaction was Gouching Sei. Fong Nan, what do you mean by that? Are you going to abandon us? Takagi Sei grabbed Fong Nan's clothes and cried again as he spoke, and his eyes immediately became moist again. No, I don't mean that. I just suddenly thought of something that needs to linger in the school for a while, and when it's done, I'll follow you. Fong Nan helplessly explained a sentence. Who knew that this sentence stimulated Takagi Saya even more? And even Hirano Toda came over and advised Fong Nan to go with everyone. Brother Fong Nan, since you want to stay, then I will accompany you. Poison Island Sunako watched quietly, and then said the sentence, without asking the reason. I also want to, since Fong Nan stays, I will also stay. I will definitely not abandon Fong Nan. Takagi Saya clutched Fong Nan's clothes tightly, and her knuckles were all white. Hirano Toda looked at the crowd and hesitated. No. Just when everyone was disagreeing, Komuro Takashi stood up, and he said in a deep voice, now is not the time for us to be arrogant and personal heroes. Fong Nan's classmates you should know, right? Yeah, I think we'll all go together. Is there anything more important than life? Rei Miyamoto also stood up and advised everyone to leave together, because the chances of safety are better. Episode 10. Am I a personal hero? The corners of Fong Nan's mouth cocked slightly, and he smiled a little dangerously. Classmate Takashi Komuro, your meaning is a bit incomprehensible. I'm just going to stay and deal with some things. And I also said that I let you go first, so how did you become a personal hero? Speaking of this, Fong Nan's tone was already a little tough. Since when did my actions need your consent? I'll say it again, you get out of here first, and I'll come later. And Gao Cheng, you don't have to stay with me. With Fong Nan's intransigence, the atmosphere suddenly fell into a stiff situation, and no one followed the loose mouth. Classmate Fong Nan, if you make such a fuss like this, do you know that you will kill us? The best thing to do now is to escape together, so that it is good for you and for all of us. Komuro Takashi is also tough to the end, choosing to face hard steel. And Komuro Takashi's Aome Takema Miyamoto, she came to Fong Nan and said softly, classmate Fong Nan, I see that you still agree with Xiao Zhao's words, after all. But before he could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Fong Nan without mercy. Oh, joke. You have to go, you can go, there is no one here to stop you, what I want to do, it does not hinder you. Or do I need your consent to do anything? Fong Nan's dark eyes were tightly fixed on Komuro Takashi and Miyamoto Rei. To tell the truth, when he originally watched anime, he didn't like these two people. One was arrogant and complacent, and had always been self-centered. And the other one, not only betrayed Komuro Takashi, fell in love with another boy. The boyfriend just died not long ago. He returned to Komuro Takashi again. Really, rocket is not so fast. Originally, Fong Nan and their friendship is not much, just according to the timeline. Just happened to meet the group. What else does Fong Nan have to do? Do you need to ask your consent? However, Fong Nan also knew that Takashi Komuro and Rei Miyamoto had seen their own skills and thought that it would be much safer to have themselves. I don't mean that. Xiaomura was stared at by Fong Nan with some weakness in his heart, and did not dare to look at Fong Nan. Well, let's stop arguing. Since brother Fong Nan insists on staying, let's leave first. Poison Island looked at it for a long time, and finally stood up and said a word. As soon as Takagi Saya listened, he was just about to open his mouth when he heard Poison Island Sunako continue. Moreover, with the strength of Fong Nan's disciple, he alone will be safer, but for the sake of safety. Poison Island Sunako looked at Fong Nan, showed a smile, and continued, I will stay with Fong Nan Shuedi, and the two of you will have a good care. Takagi Castle and Hirano and teacher Jugawa, you will leave with the small room classmates first, and I and Fong Nan Shuedi will escort you out, so it's no problem, right? Poison Island Sunako's words instantly solved the current problem. Komuro Takashi and Miyamoto Rei no longer said anything. Fong Nan thought about it. This is not bad, and then nodded in agreement. Gao Cheng originally wanted to struggle a bit, wanted to stay with Fong Nan. Fong Nan shook his head. Gao Cheng, as Poison Island Shiwajia said, if you stay, I will also be distracted to take care of you, so the degree of danger is greatly increased. You can rest assured, if it is too late, we can meet you tonight. That. You're going to keep up the phone, you know? At this point, Takagi-sei could only nod his head in agreement, and if he said it again, it would be unreasonable to make trouble. In the end, it was finalized that Fong-nan and Poison Island Tsukiko would stay in the Gakuen, and Takagi-saya and Hirano Toda and a natural Toshikagawa Shizuka would leave with Komuro Takamiya Honri. Subsequently, Gaoching said that from the main entrance to the parking lot, it was the nearest route. According to the route, several people opened the faculty office, successfully got a few zombies outside the door, and several people began to hurry towards the direction of the main entrance. The early stage was quite smooth, there were not many zombies, but when they arrived at the main entrance, they found that there were all zombies around the door. What to do? There are too many zombies here. Hirano Toda whispered. A group of them hid in the corner of the stairs, and they could see the main entrance clearly. Yes, the zombie crisis broke out, everyone ran outside, and there are definitely the most zombies here. Takagi-saya calmed down and analyzed. If you want to take a detour, it's a long way, and you don't know what the other routes are. Komuro Takashi also said a word at this time, his eyebrows deeply wrinkled, as if he was racking his brains to solve the current dilemma. Don't bother, zombies only react to sounds, so let's try not to make sounds. Fong-nan said lightly. Are you sure? If not, it will undoubtedly be a dead end, and when the time comes, there will be zombies all around, and you can't run if you want to. Rei Miyamoto grabbed the spear in her hand and asked uncertainly. Yes, classmate Fong-nan, if you are not sure, it is better not to say it indiscriminately. Takashi Komuro said. Fong-nan glanced at Xiaomuro and shrugged his shoulders, not caring about their doubts. Wait until you follow me, don't make a sound, if there is any situation, I can't guarantee that I can save you. Fong-nan said to everyone. At the same time the samurai sword was slowly pulled out and held in his hand. Poison Island and Takagi-saya originally wanted to say something, but seeing the coldness in the corner of Fong-nan's mouth, they also chose to shut up. Fong-nan held the katana in one hand, lightly hand and foot, the whole person was exposed to the zombie, and everyone held their breath at this moment. However, there was no imaginary zombie riot and rushing over, but it was cold and clear. Fong-nan moved his steps, because the soles of the shoes had been muted, plus they were intentional. Basically no sound was emitted. Silent horror. Walking to the front door, Fong-nan picked up a shoe on the ground and threw it into the distance. The sound of the shoe falling immediately attracted the zombies around him, and the zombie horde immediately rushed to that side. Really? It really worked. Zombies really only react to sounds. Takashi Komuro and Hirano Toda were both a little excited, because mastering this important clue would be of great help to their future survival, and even if they could save their lives at a critical moment. At the main entrance, Fong-nan gently opened the crack in the door where just one person passed, and then beckoned them to come. Let's go, Poison Island Tsunako said softly. In this way, a group of people passed through the main entrance of the original zombie group without any danger, looking at the small bus not far away, and everyone couldn't help but get excited. Several people ran towards the parking lot. There were not many zombies outside, and under the cover of Fong-nan and Poison Island, they came to the bus smoothly. Sensei Kwagawa, you're the only one here who can drive. Fong-nan wiped the blood from his cheeks, put away the knife, and calmly said to Jugawa Shizuka, huh? Nice. Jugawa Shizuka looked at Fong-nan, stunned, just about to open the car door. Because of the shackles of the bag hip group, she accidentally fell towards Fong-nan. For an instant, Fong-nan only felt as if he was holding a wonderful creature, and the mature fragrant soft breath, like a shock wave, directly rushed into Fong-nan's brain door, making his breathing become a few points shorter. Poison Island and Takagi-saya saw this scene, the former narrow-eyed, the latter with a small face bulging and sour-looking. Cough. Sensei Jugawa, your outfit is not suitable for rapid movement, you are offended. Fong-nan coughed lightly to resolve the embarrassment, and after helping Jugawa Shizuka, he squatted down, and under the surprised eyes of everyone, he directly tore off Jugawa Shizuka's black hip skirt. As the hip skirt was torn open, Jugawa Shizuka's white and slender thighs were suddenly exposed, spreading to the root of the thighs, very fragrant. After doing all this, Fong-nan asked Shizuka Jugawa to drive. Shizuka Jugawa groaned, and after some resent, she honestly went to drive.